Like I said, my first driving job was from down here in Texas, and I think I said I came from up here in Indianapolis. My first job was for a company called Burlington Motor Carriers, and they were located up here. And I remember the bus ride because they paid for a bus ticket for me to jump on a greyhound bus down here around the Tulsa area. And I remember it took 28 hours on a greyhound bus to drive all the way to Muncie, Indiana. I remember we also had a stop in every town, every small town leading up to there, including one in Springfield, which had a pretty nice area to. When I think back now, there's no way I'm ever riding a Greyhound bus ever again. As a matter of fact, that was the first and only time I ever rode a Greyhound bus. It's a way of getting a person from point A to point B. My review on it would be it's bad. It's it's nothing I'd recommend. But I'm gonna go through this little trip because here I am at 21 years old, leaving out of here. We go through Veneta and Miami, Oklahoma, and we stop here in Springfield. And I'm like, man, this is sure taking a while. And then we meander on through about 50 towns, it seems like, in Missouri. And then we get to Illinois, well, or St. Louis. So St. Louis, stopping on the Greyhound bus there, I remember, I remember just getting out and being like, "Oh my God, this is not a good area town at all." You know, why is this area up here in St. Louis so bad? And I remember there was this guy. He came to me, like a not necessarily a panhandler, but maybe he wanted to take me in the back alley and have his way with robbing the hell out of me. But all this came from all this. I guess you could say it's street smarts that some people got it and some people don't. But I was like, yeah, I ain't going back there with you. And he's like, well, you got a little bit of cash. You got a little bit of cash, man. You got this. And I'm pretty sure he was hyped up on something. And I was like, no, I don't have any cash. He said, well, you got an ATM card on you, right? You got an ATM. Why don't you go to that ATM and draw some money? And I remember thinking I was 21, and I was like, man, this guy's got some balls to actually tell me to go to the ATM. I said, no, dude. And I pushed him away, and he went he went his own way and found somebody else to get money off of or something like that. But I do remember that particular. This is the first pre-trip before I even got into the trucking industry. It was a trip on Greyhound, which was it was also ironically enough a company my dad used to work for. I think in '75 or something. He told me a lot of stories about his Greyhound because he just had some stories as a driver. And I think one of the funniest stories. So we're gonna take a little bit of a side quest here because we're up here in St. Louis right now. But we'll go back to my dad's story. This was before I was born in 70, 75. So he's working out of the Oklahoma City office, but he's driving back and forth to Tulsa. And he used to run that little run to Springfield. And at Springfield, a lot of times they'll change the bus drivers because what happens is Dad would he would start out in Tulsa, he would go to Springfield, and then when he got to Springfield, right here, they would switch drivers. He would jump in another bus and he'd head back to Tulsa. That's why Greyhound drivers get to go home every night. It's the same thing with LTL drivers. The reason why they get to go home every night is because they go, 250 miles away and then they relay the load and come 250 miles back. So Dad was doing a run like that, and he did something. He used to go up to Kansas City, and he did some work with the Kansas City Chiefs, where he would basically back then, I guess in the '70s, the Kansas City Chiefs rode on Greyhound, and I don't know how they ride now. I'm sure they're doing a lot better than Greyhound. I would hope. I hope that Patrick Mahomes isn't being shuttled around on Greyhound like it was back in the '70s. But Dad said those were good times, running the Kansas City Chiefs around because the tips were really good and there was plenty of alcohol and everything like that. Whenever he went to a motel, he would shuttle the Kansas City Chiefs. They'd play a game, be in a motel, and they'd party. And so that would be a pretty cool thing. I never really got a chance to do that in my career because pulling a greyhound bus is something that I never wanted to do, especially after this experience, riding to Muncie, Indiana for Burlington Motor Carriers. This is the way they got me to their orientation on the first try. And I've sat through a lot of orientations, and just being in the trucking industry as long as I had, before I'd already been driving 18, 19, 20, 21. So I've already been driving 3 years, and I've ridden with my dad since I was just in diapers. So I knew a lot about the lies and stuff that go on in the trucking, or the false promises, because every recruiter is the same way. That they're talking their company up, and what they're trying to do is just get some warm blood in the seat that somebody else just walked off of. So I'm driving up in this Greyhound bus, and by the time we get to, I think the next big stop was Indianapolis. I mean, we stopped at many different places, but Indianapolis was the next big town. I think we stopped somewhere. Uh, we stopped at a couple of places in Illinois, and I'm talking Springfield, and then we went to St. Louis, and then we went through Illinois. So Effingham, Illinois. That's where 55 and 57 split up and go up toward Chicago. But we made it to Indianapolis on this damn Greyhound bus. And I remember uh, they said that you're going to be delayed, and we'd had a bus coming for Muncie, Indiana. So I'm sitting here waiting, and something happens, and something else happens. It winds up being I'm sitting in downtown Indianapolis for about 8 hours, sleeping on this damn wooden bench with one eye open because, after St. Louis was probably the worst bus terminal I ever went to with Greyhound. But we're sitting here, and finally the bus comes in, and we're heading toward Muncie, Indiana. And this is whenever I first get the chance to meet everybody on the bus, and they're like, yeah, I'm going up to Burlington. Burlington Motor Carrier is doing orientation. Oh, yeah, I'm doing the same thing. And then before I realized it, 3/4 of this damn bus is going in for the same orientation I'm at. And you're like, man, yeah, this is pretty cool sitting here being with all these guys and stuff like that. But it dawned on me somewhere in the bus ride going up there. I'm like, damn, there's a lot of people on this bus. And they bring these people in every week. Why are they bringing in these people every week? I mean, there's 30 people on this bus going to this orientation. Maybe I made the wrong choice. Maybe if there's 30 people coming in a week, that means there's got to be at least that many going out per week, or else, they're the largest trucking company in the world, and that didn't make any sense to me. Still doesn't make any sense to me. So you'll see large conglomerate trucking companies just trying to keep warm blood in their seats. They're trying to recruit and recruit and recruit because they can't keep the seats filled. And it's been that way for a long time. The trucking industry has a high turnover rate regardless. You get into LTL, there's not as much turnover in LTL because you're home every night. But when you get out there and you first get started in this, you'll see what I'm talking about, especially if they ship you on a Greyhound bus. That should be a red flag right there. I think any company that's trying to recruit you in 2024 and they put you on a Greyhound bus, you need to really question that. You need to question that a lot. So this is my story of the Greyhound bus. And this was uh, December of 98 or 97 or something like that. So the funny part about that is we went through orientation. Burlington, they had a pretty good cafeteria, but at 21, hell, you'll eat anything. So I said the food was really good up there, and you got these little meal voucher cards, and it's like, oh, here's your meal voucher card, and you get to do this, man. And I tell you what, you're like, man, this company treats you pretty good, but oh, but the orientation. Wait until the chapter 2 of this story comes out in the next video when I start talking about all the shit that just started really coming down, and you start realizing stuff really fast. Boom, boom, boom. Like all this stuff starts coming down on you so fast you don't even know what you're thinking because of the people that you're dealing with. You never get to really see the people. As a matter of fact, back then you could actually walk in and talk to your dispatcher. Nowadays, you got it's funny because you walk in and they've got this glass in between you and the dispatch office. They did that for probably, they say security reasons, definitely security reasons. Because I've watched drivers lay dispatchers out, and I've watched dispatchers and drivers get into fights. And at the LTL company I work for, I watched another driver get laid out because he's tried to come in and pop his 2 cents into someone else, and he got laid out across the damn counter. So there's a reason they put this glass up. That's another red flag you might want to look forward to. If you walk in and it looks like you're going to visit someone at jail and you got to pick up a damn phone to speak to your dispatcher, you might be at the wrong place. At least that's my thought. Your thought may be different, but uh, when you're first getting into this and you see that, you might not think much of it, especially now. So it's kind of commonplace. But back in the day, and yeah, back in the day, things were just handled a lot different. And then now everybody's so, uh, I guess you, I guess you could say that they don't want to get their feelings hurt. And I don't know. It's a, it's kind of a different world now than it was. But anyway, we did the orientation, and I remember they said, I remember the dispatcher, and they introduced me to who my dispatcher was. My dispatcher was actually based in Joplin, so I did a phone call with him and found out who he was, and he told me where my truck was. And my truck just so happened to be located down here, Lufkin, Texas, which is located right around in here. I'm in Indianapolis. It's December 24th at the last day of orientation, 1998. Uh, well, I got those dates wrong because 98 was, I was 18, so it would have been 2001, I think. I don't remember. It was a long damn time ago. At least 20. Yeah, it was a lot longer than that. 20, 22 years ago, 24 years ago. So I'm up here, and they give me a greyhound ticket, and I handed it back to them. I said, I don't care. I'm not riding that damn greyhound back to Tulsa. And I called up my wife at the time back then, and I said, "Hey, get me a ticket, a plane ticket." TWA was the plane, and so Burlington said, "Okay, well, just send us the money for the plane ticket, and we'll reimburse you for it." It was $100 on December 24th to fly from Indianapolis and Burlington. They brought me to the Indianapolis International Airport, and it was the first time I've ever gotten a chance to fly an airplane. So, uh, and speaking of airplanes, if you want to learn a lot about airplanes, go to 74 Gear and check that channel out. But so I jump in this airplane here in Indianapolis. First time I've ever flown on an airplane. I'm 22, and seen them in the sky. And I don't know if your first experience was, but the guy who I was sitting in the airplane with said, "Hey, do you want to sit next to the window seat? Because I've flown before." And I was like, "Hell yeah, I do," because it was exciting. So we jump in the airplane. It took 28 hours to make it to Muncie, Indiana, leaving Tulsa, and I never really could get any sleep on that ride. It was the worst damn ride ever. I can't express enough. If you've got a long trip to go on, Greyhound serves its purpose, but holy shit, if you can avoid it, avoid it. Uh, Holy cow. Do not ride Greyhound. If that's my personal opinion. Some people may, I don't know, there might be people that jump on buses like these Greyhound buses and they're like, "Hey man, I'm going to travel the world." And you can travel really cheap with them. But damn, not my cup of tea. Not my cup of tea at all. So I'm at Indianapolis. Boom, we take off. And I'm sitting back in my seat going, damn, this airplane's got a lot of power. I mean, we're just sitting back there, just frozen in the back of the seat like this. And I remember thinking, damn, this is cool. And we took off, and my ears popped for the first time because I've never been in an airplane. And boom, we're flying. It's about 11 o'clock at night or something. You can see every town. It's cool because you can look up and you can see, like when we took off from Indianapolis, I could see Evansville and everything all the way coming back. And we had a layover in St. Louis, a little layover in St. Louis. We had to land there. So we made it from here all the way to St. Louis right here. Basically, we just jumped over the state of Illinois. And the coolest thing was it took like 15 hours to get on Greyhound from St. Louis to there. It took 45 minutes on a TWA. I'm telling you what, if you've never flown before and you've traveled Greyhound and you go to that, you ain't ever going back to riding Greyhound. You know what I'm saying? So we get here, and 45 minutes later, by the time you get offloaded on the airplane and you get to your next gate, hell, that 45-minute delay isn't that bad. So, and this was before September. So it was definitely before September 11th because that happened when I worked at Turnpike Transit. Uh, so this was 98. This was definitely 98 or 99 or something like that. So I'm sitting here and uh, we take off from here. 1 hour later, boom, we're landing at Tulsa International Airport. The wife at the time actually picked me up and made it back for Christmas, and that was on December 24th. All right. I don't know if you can do it now. TWA is out of business, so uh, but buying a plane ticket on December 24th, I think it was $97, and with taxes and everything, it was a little over $100 bill to make it back. Now, I don't think you can buy a plane ticket on December 24th. I mean, I just got lucky. I got extremely lucky, and I think it was because somebody somewhere knew that I'd suffered on that damn Greyhound bus for 28 hours and I needed a quick ride home. And that was the best way to do it. So that's an adventure with Mike. And on the next episode, we'll talk about the trip that started down here in Lufkin. And I'll tell you about the quality of the rig and everything that I drove there. It was a crazy experience. There's nothing like going and picking up a truck that someone abandoned, and that story will be coming up next. Hey, everybody, I'm glad you sat through this long of the video. If you want to see more videos, just punch that button down below, and hope to see you again. These are adventures or surfing with Mike on the channel How To with Mike. So check out How To with Mike, and I'm going to put another link in the description at the bottom of this video about 7.4 gear because I've been watching him now for a few years, and he's really knowledgeable on aviation and planes, and the only thing that I've got to offer you is a TWA ride from Indianapolis, Indiana to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Anyway, you guys have yourself a good one, and I'll talk to you later.